All right, ready to dive deep. Today, it's morning routines. And not just any routines, we're talking about the morning routines of highly successful people. The kind of people who seem to effortlessly conquer their day before most of us even hit snooze. We got some really fascinating articles from you guys about this. So I'm guessing you're all interested in maybe boosting your own productivity or just finding a calmer way to start your day, right?
Definitely a popular topic. And you picked some really intriguing examples to learn from, that's for sure. We've got Tim Cook waking up before the sun even thinks about rising. Oprah getting all zen with meditation first thing. Even Jeff Bezos, the guy who built Amazon, is all about slow mornings. Not exactly what you'd expect from someone running a massive empire, is it?
No, not at all. That one really caught my eye, too. I mean, if the Amazon guy thinks taking it slow is important in the morning, maybe there's something to it. But before we get too caught up in the celebrity routine rundown, I think we should lay some groundwork. Like, why are these routines so important in the first place? What is it about those first few hours that can have such a big impact on our entire day?
It's a great question, and you can actually think of your brain kind of like a muscle that needs to warm up. Instead of just hitting it with a ton of emails and to-do lists right away, a good morning routine helps it ease into gear. There's even studies that show decision fatigue is a real thing. The more decisions we make early on, the more our willpower just drains away. And by the time the afternoon rolls around, we're running on fumes.
So that's why Bezos likes those slow mornings. He's basically saving up his decision-making energy for the big stuff later on. That makes a lot of sense, actually. Some mornings I feel totally fried before I even make it out the door.
Exactly. And it's not just about decision fatigue either. There's a whole cascade of hormonal responses happening in those first few hours, too. Cortisol, our lovely stress hormone, naturally peaks in the morning. But a good routine can help keep those spikes in check. Things like exercise, mindfulness, even just getting some natural light. It can all help keep that cortisol from going haywire. And that means we're way less likely to feel anxious or just totally overwhelmed as the day goes on.
So it's not just about getting stuff done. It's about setting ourselves up mentally and emotionally for the whole day. That's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, it really is. And what's fascinating is that even though all these successful people have wildly different routines, they've all tapped into this idea of starting their day intentionally. They're not just reacting to what's thrown at them, they're actually shaping their day.
Okay, you've convinced me on the why. Now let's get to the how. I am dying to hear more about some of these specific routines. And I think we have to start with Tim Cook. Waking up at 4:30 in the morning, is that even humanly possible?
Well, I can tell you it's definitely not for everyone. But there's a method to his madness, I'll give him that. He's all about making the most of those quiet hours before the world wakes up, catching up on emails, reading the news, basically clearing the decks, so that when everyone else is just getting going, he can focus on the big picture stuff.
Yeah, I can see how getting a head start like that would be amazing. Fewer distractions, more focus. But I'm not sure I'm ready to join the 4:30 a.m. club just yet. I kind of like my sleep.
And that's totally fine. You don't have to go to extremes. The takeaway here isn't the specific time. It's more about the principle. Finding a window of uninterrupted focus. Maybe for you, that means waking up 30 minutes earlier than you normally would, or carving out a quiet hour once the kids are off to school. Whatever works for your life.
Okay, that's much more manageable. So we've got Tim Cook and his focus-first approach. But now let's switch gears completely and talk about Oprah. Her morning routine is totally different, right? It's all about mindfulness and setting intentions.
Yeah, Oprah's a great example of how you can tailor your routine to your own needs and values. That 20 minutes of meditation she does might seem like a luxury to some. But honestly, there's some solid science backing it up. Studies have shown that consistent meditation can literally rewire the brain. It strengthens the areas related to focus and emotional regulation. It's basically like building mental fitness, if you think about it.
So it's not just about feeling calmer in the moment. It's about training your mind to be more resilient to stress all day long. Wow, I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together.
That's the key. And you don't have to become a meditation master to get benefits either. Even 5 minutes of focused breathing or a quick gratitude practice can shift your mindset. Oprah's routine is a great reminder that starting the day intentionally, not just reacting to everything, can have a huge impact on how we feel all day long.
All right, we've had the productivity powerhouse, we've had the mindfulness maven. Now I'm ready for something a little more, shall we say, high energy. Let's talk about President Obama and his dedication to exercise.
Oh, President Obama is a fantastic example of how our physical and mental well-being are so connected. Even when he was in the White House, with all that pressure, he made exercise a priority. hitting the gym, squeezing in some cardio, and from a scientific perspective, it's a brilliant move. Exercise releases endorphins, which are natural mood boosters. It helps regulate those pesky cortisol levels, reduces stress, and sharpens focus.
So those morning workouts weren't just about staying in shape, they were about staying sharp mentally too. That's pretty impressive.
Absolutely. And again, it's not about replicating his exact routine. It's about the underlying principle. Maybe for you, that means a 10-minute walk before work, or a yoga class, or even just dancing around to your favorite song while you get ready. It's about finding something that gets your blood flowing and your brain energized.
You've convinced me I definitely need to add some morning movement into my life. Okay, we have 2 more routines to go, and I think we need to tackle Jeff Bezos and his surprising love of slow mornings next. I'm still a little skeptical about this one, I have to admit.
I get it. It goes against everything we're told about productivity, right? Always be hustling, go, go, go. But Bezos' approach is actually based on a deep understanding of how our brains work. He intentionally avoids scheduling any meetings before 10 a.m. He uses those early hours to read, to connect with his family, basically to let his mind decompress. And then he dives into those high-stakes decisions.
So instead of just rushing into the day in reactive mode, he's giving himself space to think clearly. I wonder if that's part of what's made him so successful.
It's definitely a possibility. His routine challenges this whole idea that more is always better. Sometimes slowing down strategically can actually lead to much better outcomes.
Okay, that's an interesting perspective. All right, last but not least, we have Richard Branson, the ultimate adventurer. His morning routine is all about getting outside and connecting with nature.
Oh, Branson's a huge advocate for starting the day outdoors, whether it's kite surfing, cycling, or just going for a walk. And his routine taps into this whole growing body of research about how good nature is for us. Studies have shown that even a short time spent in nature can reduce stress hormones. It can improve our mood, even boost our creativity.
So even if we can't all be kite surfing like Branson, we can still benefit from a little fresh air and sunshine in the morning. I'm definitely feeling inspired to get outside more.
And that's what's so great about looking at these different routines. It's not about copying every detail. It's about sparking ideas, finding what resonates with you and what fits into your life.
This has been so eye-opening. We've covered a lot of ground in part 1 here, but we're just getting started. Make sure you join us for part 2, where we'll shift gears and focus on you. We'll give you some actionable steps to create a morning routine that actually works for your life. So stay tuned. All right, welcome back to our deep dive into morning routines. We just explored some seriously inspiring examples from some real high achievers. But now it's time to bring it all back to you guys, the listeners. How do we actually take those habits and make them work in our own, let's be honest, slightly less glamorous lives?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the good news is you don't need to be waking up at the crack of dawn or, becoming a kite surfing champion to have a routine that makes a difference. It's all about finding what I like to call the Goldilocks zone, a routine that's challenging enough to push you, but not so overwhelming that you just give up after a week.
Okay, I love that. The Goldilocks zone of morning routine. So how do we find that sweet spot, the one that's just right for us?
Well, I think it all starts with a little self-reflection. Grab a pen and paper or open up your notes app on your phone, whatever works for you. And let's get really clear on your goals. What are you hoping to get out of a morning routine? More energy, better focus, maybe a little more peace and quiet before the day's chaos hits.
I think for me, it's a little bit of all of that. Some mornings, I feel like I'm dragging myself out of bed, and I'm already stressed and scattered before I even get to work. But then other days, I'm super motivated in the morning, and then I hit this wall in the afternoon, and my productivity just totally tanks.
Sounds like you're looking for a routine that helps you manage your energy levels
Hmm.
and kind of keeps you on track and focused throughout the day. That's a great starting point. So let's think about some specific habits that can help you achieve those goals.
Yeah, let's do it. Hit me with your top recommendations. What are the non-negotiables, the things that seem to be in every successful person's routine?
Okay, well, first things first, we have to start with the basics. Hydration. I know, it sounds super simple, but so many of us start the day already dehydrated, and that can really mess with our mental and physical performance.
Oh, you are speaking my language. I am terrible about remembering to drink water first thing in the morning. Coffee is usually my top priority.
I hear you. I'm a coffee lover too. But think of it this way. Your brain is about 75% water. When you're dehydrated, even just a little bit, it's like trying to run your car with an almost empty tank. You're just not going to be running at your best.
Okay, you've convinced me. Water before coffee it is, I promise. What else should we be focusing on?
Well, movement is another big one. And before you roll your eyes, it doesn't have to be a crazy, intense workout. Even just 10 minutes of stretching, a quick walk around the block, dancing to your favorite song, it can make a huge difference.
I have to confess, I'm more of a nighttime exerciser, but I'm willing to give morning movement a shot. What are the benefits, besides the obvious physical ones?
Well, exercise is basically a miracle drug for your brain. It
Mm.
increases blood flow, gets those feel-good endorphins pumping, and it helps regulate those stress hormones we were talking about. So you'll not only feel more energized physically, but your mind will be primed for focus and clarity too.
All right, I'm adding movement to my morning routine to-do list, I'm convinced. Now, what about something for the mind? Any recommendations for adding a little mental boost to our mornings?
Ooh, this is where things get really interesting because there are so many options. Some people love meditation, others are all about journaling. And some people find that reading or learning something new really kickstarts their brain.
I've tried meditation a few times, but I always get distracted and I end up feeling more frustrated than zen. Any advice for a meditation newbie like me?
The key is to start small and be patient with yourself, really. Even just 5 minutes of focused breathing can make a difference. There's some great apps out there that offer guided meditations. Or you can just sit quietly and focus on the sensation of your breath. Nothing fancy.
Okay, 5 minutes I can do. I'm willing to give it another try. What about journaling? I've heard that can be really helpful for clearing your head and setting intentions for the day.
Journaling is a fantastic tool for self-reflection and stress management, definitely. You can use it to process your thoughts and emotions, brainstorm ideas, or just write down a few things you're grateful for, even just a couple.
I do like the idea of starting the day with a gratitude practice. It's so easy to get caught up in all the negative stuff, so intentionally focusing on the positive seems like a good way to shift my mindset. What about reading or learning something new? I used to love reading in the mornings, but lately I just haven't made the time.
It's so easy for those habits to slip, especially when life gets busy. But even just 15 minutes of reading can be incredibly beneficial. It expands your knowledge, reduces stress, and helps improve focus and memory. And it doesn't have to be a novel. It could be an article, a blog post, even listening to a podcast.
I'm sensing a theme here. It's not about adding hours and hours to our mornings. It's about making these small, intentional choices that add up to a big impact.
Right. You got it. It's about finding those little moments that fuel your mind, body, and spirit. And remember, what works for one person might not work for another. This is about personalization, experimentation, and finding what brings you joy. And of course, what sets you up for a successful day.
This is all starting to feel a lot less overwhelming, I have to say.
Yeah.
But I have to ask, what about those days when life just throws a wrench in the plan? What if I oversleep or the kids are having a meltdown or I just plain don't feel like doing any of this?
Oh, those days are going to happen, trust me. And that's totally fine. The key is to approach your routine with a sense of flexibility and self-compassion. If you miss a day or have to switch things up, don't beat yourself up about it. Just get back on track the next day.
That's good to hear. I'm not aiming for perfection. Okay, so it's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent, finding a rhythm that works for our real lives.
Exactly. And remember, building a successful morning routine is a journey, not a destination. It's about those small, consistent changes that lead to big results over time.
This has been so helpful. We've covered a lot of ground in part 2, but we're not done yet. In part 3, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of actually putting these habits into practice. We'll share tips and strategies to help you make your morning routine stick, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back to our deep dive, everyone. It's time for the final part of our exploration of morning routines. We've talked about the why, the how, and even gotten inspired by some pretty amazing people. But now, let's get down to brass tacks. How do we actually make these routines stick in our own busy lives?
Right. It's time to move from inspiration to action. And the good news is there's some really simple but super effective strategies that can help you implement those habits and make your morning routine a real part of your life, not just something you try for a week and then forget about.
Okay, because I have to admit, I'm the queen of starting new routines with the best of intentions. And then, poof, 2 weeks later, I'm back to my old ways. What's the secret to making these changes last?
Well, one of the biggest secrets is setting yourself up for success the night before. Think of it like pre-game prep for your morning. Lay out your workout clothes, pack your gym bag, decide what you're having for breakfast. Anything you can do to eliminate those decisions in the morning will make a huge difference. You'll be amazed how much mental energy it saves you.
Oh, you are so right about the mental energy drain. I can't tell you how many mornings I've wasted just standing in my closet trying to decide what to wear.
It's a classic time suck.
Yeah.
And it just depletes your willpower before you even get going. By making those decisions ahead of time, you free up your brain for more important things.
Okay, pre-game prep is officially my new mantra. What else can we do to set ourselves up for success?
Another game changer is optimizing your sleep environment. We've been talking a lot about the morning, but the truth is, a great morning routine really starts the night before with a good night's sleep.
Yeah, that makes sense. If I'm exhausted, even the best morning routine probably won't do much good.
Exactly. So, let's talk about sleep hygiene. Make sure your bedroom is dark, cool, and quiet. Stick to a consistent sleep schedule, even on weekends. And maybe most importantly, try to avoid screens for at least an hour before you go to bed.
Wait, hold on. You mean no scrolling through social media or checking emails in bed? That's going to be tough.
I know it's a hard habit to break, but that blue light from our phones and tablets, it actually messes with our sleep cycle, makes it harder to fall asleep and stay asleep. Try reading a book instead. Take a bath, listen to some calming music, anything to help you wind down.
All right, I'm convinced sleep is officially a non-negotiable part of my morning routine plan. What else?
Last but not least, don't underestimate the power of your mindset. How you approach your morning can make a huge difference. Instead of dreading that alarm clock, try thinking of it as the start of a brand new day, full of possibilities.
So no more hitting snooze and grumbling. I should be jumping out of bed like I'm ready to conquer the world.
Well, maybe not quite that enthusiastic. But you get the idea. Start your day with some positive affirmations. Visualize yourself achieving your goals. Remind yourself why you're committed to this new routine. It can really make a difference.
I love it. We're basically our own personal cheerleaders.
That's right. The more you cultivate a positive mindset, the more likely you are to stick with your routine
Yeah.
and really start seeing those amazing results.
This whole deep dive has been fantastic. We've learned so much about the science behind morning routines. We've gotten a sneak peek into the lives of some incredibly successful people, and we've even gotten some really practical tips to create routines that work for us. What's the one key takeaway you want to leave our listeners with today?
I think the most important thing to remember is that building a successful morning routine is a journey. It's not about finding the perfect one-size-fits-all solution. It's about experimenting, adjusting, and figuring out what feels good for you and what you can actually stick with.
It's not about being perfect. It's about making progress every day.
You got it. And remember, every morning is a fresh start, a chance to set the tone for a successful and fulfilling day.
That's a great note to end on. So to everyone listening, we're so excited to see how you transform your mornings. Keep experimenting, keep diving deep, and keep making those mornings amazing. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.